Welcome to Wealth Hustle 247 podcast, your trusted guide to financial literacy, business innovation, and entrepreneurial success. Learn how to grow your wealth, make informed decisions, and turn your ideas into profitable ventures.
True wealth goes beyond the now. In this episode, we explore generational wealth, building lasting legacies, how to create impact that outlives you. Let's begin the journey.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're taking a look at generational wealth.
Ah, yes, generational wealth.
Now, I know what you might be thinking.
Yeah.
This is going to be boring, right?
Oh.
But I think this will be pretty interesting, actually.
Why is that?
Well, you sent over some fascinating sources, and it seems like you're really intrigued by...
I'm really interested in how families can build wealth, but really hold on to it.
Right, for generations.
Yeah, exactly. And even for centuries. There's even a study in here about how some families have held on to their wealth for over 500 years.
Oh, wow. 500 years. That's wild. But before we get into families holding on to wealth for that long, let's run a little.
Sure.
What even is generational wealth? I mean, the sources seem to define it in slightly different ways.
Okay, well, a lot of people think it just means inheritance, right? But it's really a lot bigger than that.
Okay, so bigger than just getting a pile of money when someone passes away. Right, it's more about the assets, the resources, and even the opportunities that you pass down, not just once, but over multiple generations. It's really about setting up your kids, your grandkids, and even further down the line for success.
Ah, okay, so it's not just a one-time thing, like winning the lottery or something.
Yeah, it's more like creating a system that keeps giving.
Gotcha, that makes sense. Now, you mentioned passing things down, and the sources talk about these three forms of generational wealth: financial, intangible, and cultural.
Yeah.
This is where it gets really interesting, right? Because we're not just talking about money itself.
No, not at all.
So with financial wealth, that's kind of the obvious one, right? Stocks, bonds, real estate businesses, that kind of stuff.
Exactly, yeah. But then we have these intangible and cultural forms. That's where things get really, powerful, I think.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So intangible wealth, that includes stuff like knowledge, skills, networks even. So imagine a family that passes down a specific skill, like coding or investing.
That's so smart.
Right. It's like giving someone the tools to build their own wealth instead of just, handing them a pile of cash.
I like that. You're not just giving them a finished product, you're giving them the tools to make their own.
Exactly. And then there's cultural wealth. This is about values, beliefs, mindsets. It's like the things that shape how a family views wealth,
So a family that teaches their kids about being responsible with money.
Yeah. Or a family that really emphasizes saving and investing or giving back to the community, that would be a form of cultural wealth.
I see. So even if a family doesn't have a ton of money, they can still pass down these values about how to approach money and success.
Absolutely. It's that mindset of, building something that lasts. Not just for themselves, but for generations after them.
Wow, I like that. So it sounds like for anyone listening, understanding those three forms of wealth, financial, intangible, and cultural, is really key. It's bigger than just money.
It is.
You got to think about the knowledge, the skills, and the values, right?
Yeah.
The things that can help you actually grow that wealth and make it last.
For sure, yeah. And speaking of lasting, I think it's worth talking about why this matters.
Yeah. Okay.
Why even bother with building this generational wealth in the first place, right?
Right. Beyond just having a big bank account, what's the point?
Yeah, well, the sources talk about a bunch of benefits that go way beyond just the money itself. The first one that really stuck out to me was financial security. It's like you're building a safety net for future generations.
Right. So they'll always have something to fall back on.
Yeah, exactly. It
Yep.
reduces stress and risk.
So it's it's not just about having a rainy day fund.
Yeah, it goes way beyond that.
Yeah.
It's this deeper sense of security, knowing that no matter what curveballs life throws, your family will have that foundation.
But it's not just about playing defense, right? It's about opening doors too.
Exactly. Think about it. Generational wealth can create all sorts of opportunities. Imagine being able to go to college without worrying about debt or, starting a business without having to scrape together every last penny.
Yeah, it's it can really level the playing field in a way, give everyone an equal chance to achieve their full potential, regardless of, where they came from.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Something else that the sources talk about that I found really inspiring is breaking the cycle of poverty.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, it's massive. For families that have struggled financially, generational wealth can be a game changer. It's a way to build a more stable and prosperous future, not just for themselves, but for generations to come.
Yeah, and it's not just about individual families, right? It's
Right.
about entire communities benefiting.
Right, exactly. When families have more resources, they can invest back into their communities, support local businesses. It creates this ripple effect of prosperity. And, let's not forget about philanthropy either.
Ah, right. Yeah. Generational wealth can allow families to give back in a big way.
Exactly. Funding scholarships, supporting charities, starting foundations that address, like, some of the world's biggest problems.
So we've talked about what generational wealth is and why it's so important, and it's clear that it goes so much deeper than just dollars and cents.
Right.
But I'm sure everyone listening is now thinking, okay, so how do I actually build this? What are the steps?
Well, the sources outline some key strategies, and I think a good place to start is with long-term financial planning. It's something that a lot of people, I think, overlook.
Okay, so thinking beyond just next month's bills or even this year's investments.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's about developing a plan that spans generations, making choices today that will pay off for your kids, your grandkids, and beyond.
So like planting a tree, you don't expect it to bear fruit overnight.
Precisely. You
Hmm.
nurture it, you care for it, and over time it grows into something really strong and lasting.
So patience is key here.
Definitely. This isn't about get-rich-quick schemes. It's a long game.
Okay. So, what are some of the key things that should be part of this long-term plan?
Well, we'll dive into the specifics a little later, but one fundamental piece is investing. We're not talking about just throwing your money into whatever stock is hot right now, but carefully choosing investments that will grow over time, generate income, and can be passed down through the generations.
Ah, okay. So things like real estate, businesses, maybe a mix of stocks and bonds, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. We'll explore those in more detail later on.
Awesome.
But another really important piece is education, specifically financial literacy.
Right, right. You need to actually teach the next generation how to manage this wealth, right?
Exactly. It's not enough to just hand someone a fortune. You have to give them the knowledge and the skills to use it wisely. Otherwise, they could end up losing it all.
It's like giving someone a sports car without teaching them how to drive.
Exactly. So financial literacy is about empowering future generations to make smart decisions, to understand how money works.
And to avoid those common mistakes that can wipe out wealth.
Exactly. And it's never too early to start teaching these skills.
Okay, so we've got long-term planning, investing, and education. What else?
The sources also talk about entrepreneurship. Starting and growing a business can be a really powerful way to build generational wealth.
Right, because you're creating something that can generate income, that can create jobs, that can like be passed down to future generations.
Exactly. It's about building a legacy that goes beyond just personal wealth.
I see.
It's about benefiting the family, the community, even society as a whole.
Mm.
I mean, think about companies like Ford or Disney, businesses that have become iconic and continue to thrive generations later.
Wow. Yeah, those are great examples. Okay, so we've got a lot to unpack here. We've talked about what generational wealth is, why it matters, and some of the key strategies for building it.
Yeah,
I'm already feeling inspired, and I'm sure everyone listening is too.
right.
But, I'm also curious about the other side of the coin. Because building and maintaining wealth across generations, it's not always a smooth ride, is it?
It's not, no.
What are some of the challenges that families face? What are some things that we need to be aware of?
That's a great question. And you know what? I think that's the perfect place to pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh, a cliffhanger.
Because while the potential rewards are huge, there are definitely some bumps in the road. We'll talk about those pitfalls to avoid and the strategies you need to navigate the complexities of, managing wealth across generations.
Sounds good to me. I'm ready for part 2.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so we're back, and we're talking about the not-so-fun side of generational wealth. The challenges.
Yeah.
Because building a legacy that lasts, it's not always easy, is it?
Not always, no.
Yeah.
It takes work.
Yeah.
And there are definitely obstacles along the way.
So what are some of those challenges? What do we need to watch out for?
Well, I think the most common one, and maybe the one that's most, human, is just plain old financial mismanagement. I mean, even with the best intentions, people make bad decisions.
Right.
They might fall for scams. Or maybe they just don't have the discipline to manage money well.
And that can really eat away at even a large fortune.
Oh, absolutely. It's like having a leaky bucket. You can keep pouring in wealth, but if you don't fix those holes, it'll eventually all drain out.
That's a good analogy. And it's not just about, avoiding those big financial blunders. The sources also talk about adapting to, well, the changing economic landscape.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
We live in a world where things are constantly shifting. Inflation, market crashes, you name it.
So it's not enough to just, set it and forget it. You've got to be on your toes.
Exactly. You have to be ready to adapt your strategy, to seek out expert advice, to navigate those uncertain waters. And this leads to another challenge that comes up a lot: intergenerational conflict.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
yeah. Families disagreeing about money.
It happens all the time. Different generations might have different ideas about how wealth should be managed, how it should be spent, invested.
Yeah, it's tough. And if you don't address those differences head on, well, it can lead to some real tension, resentment.
Absolutely. It can even tear families apart, which is, well, that's the saddest part.
And sometimes it ends up in court battles even.
You see that happen,
Mhm.
unfortunately. That's why it's so important to have those open conversations, to set clear guidelines, maybe even involve a mediator if things get really heated.
It's about remembering that family harmony, at the end of the day, that's more valuable than any amount of money.
Couldn't agree more. And, while we're on the topic of complicated things, we can't forget about taxes and estate planning. Those are big hurdles.
Oh, yeah. The tax man always wants his share.
Always. And without proper planning, a big chunk of a family's assets could end up going to the government instead of the next generation. Estate planning is crucial to make sure your wealth is distributed according to your wishes.
And to minimize those tax liabilities as much as possible, legally, of course.
Of course, it's about being smart, strategic. Now, I know this might all sound a little overwhelming.
Got a lot to take in.
It is. But don't worry, there are resources available. There are professionals who can guide families through this.
Right. You don't have to figure it all out on your own.
Exactly. Financial advisors, estate planning attorneys, tax specialists, they can all provide valuable support. They can help families make informed decisions and protect those hard-earned assets. And remember, the sooner you start planning, the better.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential pitfalls, financial mismanagement, economic changes, family conflicts, and of course, those taxes. But I don't want to dwell on the negative. What are some practical things that families can start doing today to build that solid foundation for generational wealth?
Well, I think it starts with a mindset shift. Building generational wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires patience, discipline, and it's about embracing the power of compounding.
Ah, yeah, the snowball effect.
Exactly. The earlier you start investing,
Yeah.
even if it's small amounts, the more time your money has to grow.
Yeah.
It's amazing, actually, how much it can multiply over time.
So even if you're, starting a little later in life, it's not too late.
Never too late. Every dollar you invest today is a step towards a better future for your family.
That's good to hear. Okay, so long-term mindset, the power of compounding, what else?
Well, building on that, it's crucial to have a solid financial plan. And that begins with defining your vision, your goals. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to achieve? Not just financially, but in terms of, passing down values.
So thinking about the kind of impact you want to have.
Exactly. What kind of world do you want to leave behind for future generations?
Right.
Once you have that clear vision, then you can set specific goals, those SMART goals.
Specific, measurable, achievable, all that good stuff.
Exactly. Those goals will guide your decisions, help you stay focused. Do you want to set up a fund for your grandchildren's education? Or maybe create a charitable foundation, build a family business that can be passed down?
Having those goals in mind will help you figure out the right financial strategies.
Precisely. And remember, your plan isn't set in stone. Life happens, things change. You've got to be adaptable.
So it's like a flexible roadmap. It can guide you, but you can adjust it along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about investing, the nuts and bolts. The sources emphasize diversification.
Diversification, right. Spread your investments around.
Exactly. It's all about managing risk. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Just don't bet it all on one thing.
Right. Because if that one thing goes south, well, you lose everything. But if you spread your investments across different asset classes, stocks, bonds, real estate, you're more protected if one market takes a hit.
It's like a safety net for your investments.
Exactly. Now, I know this can feel overwhelming, all these different investment options and asset classes.
It's a lot to learn.
It is. And that's where education comes in. Read books, attend seminars, but most importantly, find a reputable financial advisor, someone you trust.
Yeah, someone who has your best interests at heart, because this is your money, your future, your legacy.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Shop around until you find the right fit. Now, let's shift gears and talk about one of the most, well, tangible and enduring forms of generational wealth: real estate.
Ah, yes. Land. Something solid, something you can see and touch.
Exactly. It's not just numbers on a screen. And historically, real estate has tended to appreciate over time.
It's a classic investment for a reason.
It is. And it provides that sense of security, knowing you own a piece of the earth.
It's like planting a tree that will provide shade for generations to come.
I love that. And just like a tree, real estate needs to be nurtured. You need to maintain it, make improvements, keep it in good shape.
So it's not completely passive.
No. But the potential rewards are significant. Real estate can generate income through rentals. And of course, you have that potential for appreciation.
Okay, so both cash flow and growth in value.
Exactly. And let's not forget the emotional value either.
Hmm.
For many families, a home is more than just an investment. It's where memories are made, where traditions are passed down. It's a place of belonging.
It's like the heart of the family. And to think that that place can also be a source of financial security, a legacy for the future, that's amazing. So when it comes to investing in real estate for generational wealth, are there certain strategies that families should consider?
Absolutely. One popular strategy is to be pro-rental properties. They can provide a consistent stream of income, and as you pay off the mortgage, you're building equity that you can pass down.
Like a little family business almost.
Exactly. Another option is land acquisition. Land is a finite resource, so as populations grow, land tends to become more valuable. It's a long-term play, but it can be very rewarding.
And then there's the more traditional approach of, buying a family home that can be passed down through generations.
Exactly. That can be a really cherished asset, both financially and emotionally. A true legacy.
It's like having a physical representation of the family's history.
Beautifully put. And as with any investment, it's crucial to do your research, understand the market, and find experienced professionals to guide you.
Don't just jump in blindly. Get informed. Find trusted advisors.
Exactly. All right, so we've talked about investments, about real estate, all those financial aspects of generational wealth.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about those intangible assets that we discussed earlier: knowledge, skills, values.
Ah, right. Because financial wealth without the wisdom to manage it, that can disappear pretty quickly.
Oh, for sure. It's like giving someone a fancy sports car without teaching them how to drive. Not a good idea.
Definitely a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure future generations are equipped to handle the wealth they inherit?
Well, education is key. Encourage your children to pursue higher education, to develop valuable skills, and to become financially literate. Give them the tools they need to succeed.
Empower them to be in control of their financial futures.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of instilling good values. Things like hard work, discipline, responsibility.
Those are the things that guide our financial decisions, our attitudes towards money.
Absolutely. And remember, actions speak louder than words.
Mm.
Children learn by watching their parents.
Mm.
If you want to teach them about financial responsibility, well, be financially responsible yourself.
Lead by example.
Exactly. And that can go beyond your immediate family, too. Consider involving your children in philanthropy.
Yeah, giving back to the community, showing them that wealth can be a force for good.
It's a great way to broaden their perspective, teach them about the impact they can have. So we've covered a lot: the challenges, the strategies, the financial, the intangible.
We've gone deep.
We have. But before we wrap up this part of our conversation, I'm going to circle back to something you said earlier about seeking professional guidance.
Yeah, finding those experts to help you navigate this whole process.
Exactly. They can provide valuable insights, develop strategies, and help ensure a smooth transition of wealth across generations.
It's like having a trusted guide on a challenging journey.
Exactly. Financial advisors, estate planners, tax specialists, they're all part of that support system.
And don't forget about communication within the family, too. Open and honest conversations about goals, concerns, expectations.
Couldn't agree more. Building generational wealth is a team effort. It's a journey that requires commitment, patience, a long-term vision.
And while it's not always easy, the rewards can be incredible, creating a legacy of financial security, opportunity, empowerment for future generations.
So as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
If you could give one piece of advice, one golden nugget of wisdom to future generations, what would it be?
That's a good question. That's something to really think about.
We'll explore that question further in our final segment. What legacy do you want to leave behind? What wisdom will you share with those who come after you?
And that's where we'll pick up next. All right, so we're back, and we ended on a pretty big question, didn't we? About that one piece of advice, that golden nugget of wisdom that we'd pass down to future generations.
Yeah, we did. It's a tough one. I've been thinking about it too, you know, trying to distill it all down to one key thing.
It's hard, right? Like, where do you even start? But I think if I had to choose one thing, it would be to embrace failure.
Oh, interesting. Failure.
Yeah, I mean, not as a goal or anything like that,
Sure.
but as a part of the journey.
Yeah.
To see setbacks not as like roadblocks, but as detours, as opportunities to learn and adapt and come back even stronger.
I really like that. Resilience, that's so important, especially in a world that's, well, constantly throwing curveballs at you.
Right, you got to be able to roll with the punches.
Exactly. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
teaching future generations to be okay with being uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah.
To see challenges as chances to grow, and to not let the fear of failing stop them from going after what they want.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So what about you? What's that one piece of wisdom you'd pass on?
Hmm. That's a tough one. But I think I'd have to go with cultivating a deep sense of gratitude. To appreciate what you have, to be mindful of, the good things in your life, to focus on that abundance rather than on what you might be lacking.
I see how that fits in with the idea of building a lasting legacy. Gratitude kind of shifts your perspective, doesn't it?
It does. It helps you focus on building something meaningful, on the long-term vision, not just getting caught up in always wanting more, more, more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about being content with what you have while still striving for more, but in a healthy way.
Right, right. And it inspires generosity too, I think. When you're grateful for what you have, you naturally want to share that with others.
And that goes back to what we were talking about with philanthropy and social responsibility.
Yeah.
Generational wealth isn't just about hoarding wealth, it's about using it to make a difference in the world.
Exactly. It's about realizing that we're all connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That our actions they have an impact, a ripple effect.
Wow, yeah. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. It's clear that generational wealth, it's about so much more than just money.
It is.
It's about building a legacy that includes knowledge, skills, values, and that positive impact that we can have on the world.
And it's about empowering future generations to not just inherit wealth, but to create their own success.
Yeah.
To face those challenges head on, and to live lives that are full of purpose.
It's a journey, that's for sure. One that takes planning and tough decisions and a commitment to something, well, something bigger than just ourselves.
Absolutely. But the rewards are worth it.
Yeah.
There's nothing quite like knowing that you're creating a better future for generations to come.
Absolutely. So, to everyone listening out there, remember, this journey, it starts today.
Yeah.
Embrace those challenges, find those wise mentors, and never stop learning and growing.
Yeah, never stop.
And most importantly, remember that the greatest legacy we can leave behind, well, it's not just about the wealth. It's about leaving the world a better place than we found it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep seeking, keep building, and keep inspiring.
That's it for today's episode of Wealth Hustle 247. Be sure to follow, like, comment, and share with others. Keep pushing toward your goals, and we'll see you in the next episode.